disaster zone of Hurricane Helene. Helene, je m'appelle Helene. Uh, Good to see you guys virtually. Today we will read as much as we can from my 20% laptop about the master of Longchen Nyingthik. Let's get into it. 911 is down, so if anything happens. The first Dodrupchen Rinpoche Jigme Trinle Ozer was the principal doctrine holder of the Longchen Nyingthik cycle of teachings. He was known by many names, including Kunsang Chenpe, Sonam Choden, Changchup Dorje, and Drupwang Dzogchenpa. He was born in the upper Do Valley of Golok province in eastern Tibet in the Wood Ox year of the 12th Rabjung, 1745. His story is really inspirational. I read roughly what it is. So if I don't finish, you guys can buy this book by Tulku Tondup. He came to the US, so it is verified by Americans. Do Valley is situated in Golok province on the border of Amdo and Kham regions. Dodrupchen's father, Dzonko, was from a warrior clan called Puchung in Mukdo Dong lineage, in the Mukpo Dong lineage. His mother, Sonamto, was from Nizok Nobzur tribe. His birth was prophesied by Guru Rinpoche. Om Ahom Vajra Guru Penma Siddhihom. Don't forget your mantras. They really calm me down in these times. In the East, there will come a person named Ozer, endowed with strong devotion, extraordinary actions, powerful mind, and full of wisdom. He will uphold the discovered heart treasure teachings and propagate them with the support of many fortunate people. So he had like Mongol sponsors. Okay. Like in an age of like sectarian conflict in the 1700s of Central Asia, he had Mongol sponsors. So that's like, how he's for real. At about 3, Dodrupchen started revealing his memories of his past lives. His parents wouldn't let him repeat them as they were afraid that he was possessed by a demonic force. At about 4 or 5, now and then he witnessed amazing lights of Togal visions, and he would remain absorbed in them with a feeling both of joy and sadness. At age 6 and 7, he saw and then remembered the sufferings of people from poverty, illness, old age, and death. Because of this, an unbearable sadness occupied his tiny heart, and his little face was always soaked in tears. At 7, his parents sent him to his uncle, who was a lama, to study Tibetan and scriptures. By the way, shout out to my new guru. I met him, through a podcast called The Limitless Talk. Right before the storm, I made a drawing of him, and I was like focused on how he was so brave and courageous and speaking the truth. And the storm came and blew down like dozens of trees, but our house was okay. So, if you believe, then it's true. 信则有,不信则无. Okay. At 7, his parents sent him to his uncle, who was a lama, to study Tibetan and scriptures. He was able to read the prayers after he was taught them once, whereas others could only learn them by repeating them many times. Although Dodrupchen took birth as great masters in his past lives, he was not recognized as Tulku in his youth. Thus, he was given the chance and challenges of passing through his studies and trainings as an ordinary trainee does in Tibet. At 10, he revealed some Ter teachings of the Terma, but none survived as no one thought of them of any importance. He had numerous visions and dreams of masters who entrusted teachings and blessings to him and always warned him of any dangers that was coming. Like my guru. He is Dharmendra Thakur. Oh my gosh. Please support him. He needs a laptop. I might give him mine, but let's see. Jai Mahakal. Okay. Still, his mind was always filled with compassion. When his parents were not noticing, he would cry profusely over the sufferings that people were experiencing and would try to help them, at least by saying prayers for them. He never had any ill will toward anybody, even people who were trying to hurt him. He was always frank, bold, and powerful in expressing his thoughts. He was generous and energetic in offering his services to improve others' lives. At 14, he entered Gochen Monastery of the Palyul lineage and received teachings from Shirab Rinchen until that teacher's death. Shirab Rinchen was a student of Pema Lundrup Gyaltso, who studied with Kuzang Sherab, the founder of the Palyul lineage. He was born in 1636 and passed on in 1699, Kuzang Sherab. I'm so fortunate to learn of the Palyul lineage. They also have North American sites. So if you're interested, you can search them up, Palyul. Shirab Rinchen gave him the Dharma name Sonam Choden. He studied and meditated on many teachings, mainly Tsokpa, Chenpo, and Salo, fulfilled the requirements of various recitations and trainings. However, there was not much progress in his spiritual experience beyond what he already had. Because sometimes when you get like the downloads and then you process them on your own, then you kind of realize like how humans are porous in a sense and interconnected. Whereas like someone who doesn't have those like when he was born or when she was born, then they might need like textual evidence and pictorial evidence or like hearsay evidence of other people with great cities. Yeah. At 21, Dodrupchen left for the central Tibet through Dege with 6 other monks. On the way, he received teachings from Situ Choki Jungne at Palpo Monastery in Dege. Finally, he reached Takla Gampo, the monastic seat of Gampopa, the main disciple of Milarepa. Jitsu Milarepa. At Takla Gampo, the 5th Gampopa Jampal Trinle Wangpo named Dodrupchen as Sonam Choden. With Master Tamcho Wangchuk, a disciple of the 3rd Gampopa Zangpo Dorje, Dodrupchen studied Nongdro, Chakchen, Chodruk, and Poa of both the Takpo and Zatsong traditions and many other teachings. Then he went on a pilgrimage to Sari, one of the most sacred places in Tibet, with much physical hardship. There, in a vision, he received the blessings of Vajravarahi, a Buddha in female form. Sarva Buddha Dakiniye, Vajravarnaniye, Vajravarachaniye, Ho, 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 Pe, 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 Soha. Soon, all the voices, fears, and hardships he was experiencing on his pilgrimage turned into an experience of great joy, and he felt very happy and fulfilled. On his return from Tsari to Takla Gampo, Tamcho Wangchuk sent him to a cemetery to spend the night practicing Chö. As one of the Nyingma Lamas said, if you are losing your mind, practice Chö, giving up your body to all sentient beings. In the middle of the night, when he woke up, he saw the rock behind him had turned into a huge and terrifying monster with long hair and sharp teeth. Dodrupchen was frightened, and his body was trembling. He couldn't go back to sleep, but remembering the Lama's words, after performing another Chö practice, he remained lying there, his back against the monster. Before dawn, he performed his last and 3rd Chö practice. Soon day broke, and there was nothing but the rock. He felt so happy, as if he had been granted another chance to live. That was how I felt after the storm went, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I met my guru, and I'm alive, and everything's fine. Even though, well, yeah, it's very sad. A lot of people lost a lot of things, but for me, I was like, my spiritual journey can continue. Yeah. With a broad smile, the Lama knew what happened and was waiting for him. The Lama asked, was your good meditation still there? Because some people get attached to their experiences, and Dodrupchen answered, no, it has disappeared. The Lama said, you did well. You were attached to your so-called good meditative experiences, which will cause rebirths in the higher realms of samsara. I sent you to the cemetery to dissolve those attachments. So don't feel regret that you have lost your experiences. You did well by not leaving the cemetery. Om tare tu re soha. Om tare tu re soha. Om tare tu dare dure so dare dure so. Yes. Lama Keno. Then the Lama, using this incident by the means of introduction to the ultimate nature, asked, is there any truly existing entity in those spheres? Didn't they arise and dissolve in their own openness nature, free from limitations? Then in Osalpuk, the cave of luminosity, Dodrupchen did a long retreat with very little food. With his companions, Dodrupchen went on pilgrimage to Samye Lhasa and other holy places in Tibet. Then they journeyed toward home. On the way in Dege, Dodrupchen received teachings from Kunzang Namgyal, 1713 to 1769, the second Rabjam of Shechen Monastery, who gave him the name Kunzang Chenpen. He also received teachings from Kuntrul Namgyal, the first Juan of Dzogchen Monastery, and Garma Jashi, 1728 to 1790, the first Garma Kuchen of Palyul Monastery. From the age of 25 through 30, he stayed around his home valley because an old uncle had urged him in the name of Dharma to not leave until he died. I think he means the old uncle. The old uncle means not to leave until the old uncle died. As Dodrupchen belonged to a powerful tribal group, traditional obligations forced him to take care of tribal responsibilities like Thakurji. The Thakurs have so much responsibility to the people of Himachal. Whenever I think of it, I feel so fortunate to not have been born with that many responsibilities. Anyways, Navratri is coming up. Hope you guys have a great Navratri, especially if you're not in the disaster zone of Hurricane Helene. He was a forceful orator with a fearless heart and a powerful personality, which made him a most admired tribal figure. One day he was traveling across the valley to collect some debts, riding on the best-known horses in the tribal community. Suddenly, strong remorse over samsara overwhelmed his mind. This instantly caused all the appearances before him to transform into the pure land of Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha. It was a beautiful atmosphere, unimaginable by the mind. All the graspings and cravings of his mind had dissolved. Then, in a most enchanting voice, the blissful Buddha Amitabha said, "Son of a good family, do not stay here. Go wherever you like. Your purposes will be fulfilled." Can you imagine if you're an aristocrat and then someone told you you're good? How relieved would you feel in that moment? Nati, 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 valiye. Then he emerged from his realm of spiritual vision and experience into ordinary life. Ordinary life. Admi hum. As if he had wakened from a deep sleep. Dodrupchen writes, this experience might have lasted only for the time it takes to drink 2 cups of tea. I added milk to kahwa. Please don't come for me. It tastes good if y'all want to try it. 2 cups of tea. Not 3 cups of tea, because according to some, it was a fake book about Afghanistan. Anyways. This experience might have lasted only for the time it takes to drink 2 cups of tea. Perhaps about 20 minutes. Since my feelings toward the best kinds of worldly prosperity, power, and gain became as if they were rich food before a sick people with no appetite at all. Like when you are sick, you don't have that much appetite. So yesterday, one of the gurus actually was eating in front of Satyanarayan, and that was like such a blessing for me because I'm like, sometimes you even feel guilty eating because everyone's suffering around you, and then the Brahmin comes and says, the birds get food, the dogs get food, some other entities get food, and then I will also eat some food, and then you're like, I'm a human like this ramen so that we can all eat, and then you feel like eating it. Since my feelings toward even the best kinds of worldly prosperity, power, and gain became as if they were rich food before a sick person who has no appetite at all. Then he adds, although this experience might not seem any great significance, yet it is the best part of my life story. Oh mani padme, oh mani padme. Long live the gurus, long live the lamas, long live His Holiness. Shichen Rinpoche. Dodrupchen went to Dzogchen Monastery where he received Khandro Nyingthik transmissions and teachings from Pema Sangnak Tenzin, 1731 to 1805, the second Ponlop, and he meditated on them. Then, with 4 other monks, he set off on his second trip to central Tibet. On the way, he got very sick, and doctors and friends had little hope of his recovery, but he refused even to take any medicine. Nevertheless, after some time, he recovered solely by the power of his pilgrimage and inner meditative strength. Imagine, like, Thakurji sometimes goes up to the Devlok and then comes down to the Bulok. I think that means human realm. How difficult that might be. Like, because normal people just go through bardo to bardo and like they have the help of their family, right? But then like if you're like a big Superman, then you can just do it on your own with your inner meditative strength. Finally, he reached Takla Gampo again and received teachings from the fifth Gampo Pa Jumpal Trinle Wangpo Tsotrim Palbar. Then he went on pilgrimage to Yarlung, Samye, Jasi Lumpo Sakya, Surpu, Lhasa, and Driku. Long live Garchen Rinpoche, long live Chetan Rinpoche. He also received teachings from the 13th Garmapa, Dudul Dorje, who gave him the name Garma Wangchuk. Then he returned to Dzogchen Monastery because he felt uneasy meditating in the monastery because of so many distractions. He went to Kangchuo Ogma, the lower snow mountain, not very far from Dzogchen Monastery. At 35, he started a 3-year retreat in a cave in solitary mountain of Kangchuo Ogma. One second, let me get the Karmapa's biographies. So let's hold this. The 13th Karmapa. Okay, so this is the 12th. Dodo Dorje. 13th Karmapa. Okay. At 35, he started a 3-year retreat in a cave in the solitary mountain of Kangchuo Ogma, practicing Kunchuk Chidu and many other teachings, and especially Togal in summer and Salung in winter. I have no idea what these are, but we'll look it up later. He enjoyed the great peace of the atmosphere, but he vowed to dedicate himself to the training without letting himself be distracted, even for a second, by his enjoyment of the surroundings. However, after a month or so, a great shaking up arose in him, Longcha. Sometimes when I meditate on my guru, I also feel like, oh, there's so much like energy and like, that's why I needed to take this tanka inside. It's like, it helps me center myself. Okay. It became hard for him to stop the turbulent waves of thoughts, emotions, and illusions. He now started to have disturbances of the life force energy, symptoms that brought him to the brink of insanity. So a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't understand all these possibilities, so they're calling my guru insane, and it's just really unfortunate because the symptoms might be the same, but the process is like he knows what he's doing. He might lose his mind, but that's just the risk he's willing to take for all sentient beings, so I just really respect him. All appearances arose as enemies. He even saw fearful animals in his teapot. He felt that he was involved in fighting with weapons. Bayanak Yud, Buto Pret Kesat. One night in a dream, he heard a very frightening shout, and he felt that it almost split his heart. Even after he awoke, he kept hearing the same cry, and he saw a pillar-like dark light linking the ground and the sky. His body was trembling violently. He felt an unbearable terror and feared that the sky and earth were being turned upside down. Ulta fulta. But then in an instant, all the disturbing appearances dissolved into himself, the I, which was merely projecting and experiencing all those appearances. Then the concept of I was gone beyond any elaboration. The fearful mind and the objects of fear all had emerged into one taste, the taste of ultimate nature, the total openness. The fears of his dreams and experiences had vanished without even a trace. At that point, he writes, I experienced a realization in which there is no designation of any view to realize or any meditation to follow, by just being in a realized state. My fear over negative experiences as well as joy over the experiences of bliss have gone. Just before reaching a high realization, it is normal for many meditators to experience the final mental, emotional, and habitual struggles in various forms or degrees of temptations, fearful illusions, threatening sounds, or painful feelings. Many great masters have had the same kinds of experiences just before they enter into high states of realization. If you do not succumb to these kind of last-minute disturbances caused by hidden subtle habits and get beyond all those final encounters by remaining in the realized nature, like shaking the dust from a rug for good, you will attain total freedom from mental and emotional obscurations with their traces. A person who is having a so-called smooth meditative experience might think, I am doing so well that I do not have shaking up experiences. But the truth is, सत्य है कि अपनी दुख नहीं destroy किया उसने. They have not destroyed the final and mental emotional defilements from the root. After some time, Dodrupchen's food was exhausted, and for a long time, except for some tea, he didn't have much to eat. Chatong, chatong. He became physically weak, like a man in a sickbed. He could hardly move, and his breathing became heavy and his chest congested. One day, as his water pot was empty, he went out to collect some water from a pond outside the cave. On the way back, when climbing up to the cave, because of the weight of the pot, he fell down and lost consciousness. After a while, he regained consciousness and tried to get up, but he could not. Thoughts came to his mind. Now there is no way to escape from death. What to do? Then another thought came into mind. It would be sad if I were dying while doing unvirtuous deeds, but I'm dying while doing Dharma practice, so I should be rejoicing. This thought brought a feeling of joy in him, and his joy gave him the strength to get up. He went back to the cave, treated himself with smoke from burning a little tsampa, and then he saved the tsampa to calm down his violent air humors. So it was saved from before to calm his humors, violent air humors, and then he burned all of them for this moment. Then he took a smaller pot to get some water. He made some tea and drank it, but as he had had no solid food for some time, the tea made his body shake violently and he had a hard time calming it down. Then he thought it would be better to go to Dzogchen Monastery to get some food, otherwise I shall die and there will be an obstacle to the practice. He left the cave and climbed a little way down the hill, but he was so weak that he fell down again. Getting up, he thought, how foolish I am. My lamas instructed me to practice, to follow the instructions of the lamas in my main practice. To go and look for food would be wrong. Even if I die, I shall not leave the meditation cell until I finish my retreat. He returned to the cave and resumed his meditation as usual. After a while, he heard a knock on the door, but ignored it as he was practicing. At the practice break, at the door, he found a pot of yogurt, which he brought inside and ate. The yogurt had special healing qualities, which helped him not only to restore his health, sehat ke liye, but also to assist his meditation, dhyan ke liye. Dhyan sadhana, yog sadhana, mantra sadhana, sab kuch hai. The yogurt was said to have been offered to him by the Dharma protectors Tserima, the long-life sisters. Since then, the environs of the meditation cave are known as Tseringpuk, the cave of Tserima. A few days after his Dharma friends brought him provisions of food, A few days later, his Dharma friends brought him provisions of food. The pot of yogurt left by Tserima, made of copper gilded with gold, was preserved until the late 1950s in a stupa in Dodrupchen Monastery. At 38, Dodrupchen moved to Shinje Cave near Dzogchen Monastery, and there he did another 4-year retreat, except for a short break when he had to go to the monastery. He practiced the 5-deity chakra samvara of the Takpo lineage. Wrathful Guru Mekil and Vajrakilaya Yangsam Lame, both discovered by Ratna Lingpa. Then he meditated on Yamaraja, and one day he wrote the mantra on a rock with his finger, as if in mud. Since then, the cave has been known as Shinje Cave, another name of Yamaraja, and I was told that the mantra is still visible on the rock. Then he received the transmission of Tsatsun Sangwa Nyingthik from the third Dzogchen Rinpoche, 1759 to 1792, and he did a short retreat on it with many experiences and visions. During that retreat, the third Dzogchen Rinpoche sent him a copy of Yongten Rinpoche Tso. He read it and gave him uncontrived devotion to its author, Jigme Lingpa. Dodrupchen went to Dzogchen Rinpoche, who encouraged him to see Jigme Lingpa, saying, "Seeing him will be more beneficial for you than staying in retreat." Dzogchen Rinpoche also urged Dodrupchen to invite Jigme Lingpa to come on his behalf, or at least to bring the transmission of Longchen Nyingthik for him and others. From Dzogchen Rinpoche, he received the transmissions and teachings of Nyingthik Yapche and many other teachings. Somewhere in Dege, Dodrupchen came to a big river but couldn't find any way of crossing. He remained in meditation of seeing the river as earth and walked across the river as if on dry land. When he was almost at the other shore, he thought, "Oh, my meditation is quite good," and at that moment he sank into the river and almost drowned. So later he kept saying, "Thoughts are dangerous." Here is Chakra Samvara, which I got from Garchen Institute. And thanks so much, guys, for listening. Hope you guys stay safe. And we will continue the reading in another auspicious meeting. Long live the Dharma. Jai Himachal. Oh, and check out this girl from Kullu. She's a vlogger. I'll link her vlog below. She does like daily chores that one needs to start learning if one wants to, have a long life. She does the woodwork, she burns the wood to make cakes, and it's all very like cute. And yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this girl in Kulu, and sometimes I think she also harvests stuff. So when she goes to the harvesting, it's also very nice to watch, and so it helps you get a taste of like how people lived in those times. And yeah, take care.